Welcome to the 4 Pillars of Men's Health, a podcast of resources for restoring vigor and vitality, bringing you top influencers in the men's health arena, case studies of men who have succeeded and how they did it, and cutting-edge teaching on men's health issues from America's leading men's health guru, Dave Skattum. Get ready to take steps towards good health. Here's your host, Dave Skattum.
Hey, welcome to the 4 Pillars of Men's Health. I'm so glad that you joined us today. I have an exciting podcast today, continuing on with this theme of your story. And I've met this guy. His name is Randey Faulkner. A couple years ago at a Napoleon Hill seminar certification course we were both going through. And Randey, I'm so glad to have you on my podcast. Thanks for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me, Dave. I appreciate you.
Hey, so everybody knows, Randey is he used to be in the tire business, working for Michelin. He had a big business going on there, retired, very successful business. He's been a student of Napoleon Hill since 1968. He just told me that a couple years ago he ran 26 marathons in 26 miles, one every week for 26 weeks. Well, that's quite an accomplishment, Randey, so way to go there. And he's in the middle of publishing and delivering a book he's called Think and Grow Through Art and Music, and I'm looking forward to hearing a little bit more about that. So, Randey, kind of the way we start these podcasts off is I always like to get a feel for where, what's going on in your personal life. But I'm just curious, what's cooking on the front burner of Randey Faulkner's life right now? What's getting you out of bed in the morning?
Well, thanks for having me, Dave, and I hope we can shed some light and help some of your listeners here.
You bet.
Yeah, well, of course, number one, I get up because I love God and I love my wife, and I love to talk to both of them and see both of them every morning. So that first gets me going. And then beyond that, I have 2 books I'm working on. One, the one that's published, Think and Grow Through Art and Music, and the other is about 101 attributes you probably did not know about our esteemed friend, Mr. Don M. Green, who's the CEO and executive director at the Napoleon Hill Foundation. Now, I'm about to finish his book, where 101 people have, a lot of good people have put in attributes about how Don has helped them, and people from all over the United States and all other countries. And
yeah, just in talking to you, it's so inspirational to hear a guy later on in their years, running marathons, writing books, doing, having a great relationship with their family members. It's like that to me. That is such a healthy thing. I am really curious to ask you this question: What in your mind, what does make a person healthy? When you think of a healthy person, what makes them healthy?
Well, there's so many different kinds of health. You got mental health. Mental health is has a lot to do with physical health, I believe. So it starts right up there in your brain. Your health would, in my mind, would have to start in your brain. No pun intended. But in my mind, it would have to start in your brain, and because that's where the core would come from. That's where you would get the thoughts, well, I need to be a healthier person. And why do I want to be a healthier person? Because I want to see my grandkids grow up. I don't want to be in the hospital having them take out this and take out that just to get by. I don't want that. I want health. So the picture to me of a healthier person is a person who, first of all, would be happy with his or her home life and family life, and that's where the health starts. And from there, then being healthy would be a person, in my mind, a person my age who doesn't take any kind of medication or anything, and gets up every day and feels good and feels like, oh man, I can't wait to get it on. I mean, a person who's so much in love that they say I can't think of the term right now. It'd take me a minute to get it together, but
yeah.
I think love has a lot to do with it. I really do. I'm a big fan
absolutely.
of love, and love is such a powerful, powerful thing, and it can make you or break you. So if you've got a good, strong base for a love life, then your chances of working on becoming a healthy person are much greater.
Yeah. Hey, Randey, I love the way you, in my correspondence with you, I love the way you close out your correspondence. Many times it's with love, aloha, and isn't that kind of ties into what you're saying, because that's a Hawaiian term that kind of ties in right with what you're saying, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. We lived in Hawaii. We retired and sold our tire business in Sedona, Arizona, and moved to Hawaii. And we were over there for 3 years, and I caught the aloha spirit.
Yeah.
But I needed to get back over here so I could get this book finished and 2 other little projects, which aren't related to the book. And then I took on the next project with, go ahead.
So I know in Napoleon Hill, there's a real study and emphasis on positive thinking, but I'm just curious, we have to be realistic too. So when you look around your sphere of influence and the people you know, you just described this healthy person as being someone who has a great family and is physically and mentally healthy. What do you think are some of the biggest obstacles to good health in our society? What is it that makes people unhealthy or drives us in that direction of, ending up with a medicine cabinet full of pills and doctor visits every 3 weeks and all that stuff? What do you think is driving that?
I would have to go back to it's what we put in our bodies. It's our food. 90% of it is food, and we could start a whole new podcast on that if you wanted to.
Yeah,
that's a whole nother. Yeah, that's where it starts.
So
I believe it starts with food, rest, exercise, and good clean water. That's food, rest, exercise, and good clean water. That's a start right there.
Yeah, that's great.
Did I answer your question?
So what? Yeah, excellent. Yep. So what, if you look back over your life, what do you see as being some of the things that help propel you towards good health? And what are some of the things that you saw that maybe you didn't make so great decisions that weren't so healthy? What when you look back over your life, what do you see as the positive things and the negative things that happen with you?
Well, to give you that, I would have to go into another story, and I just don't know how much time we have left in this one. Or
we love your stories, man. We love your stories. I'm dying to hear another one.
Okay, well, what happened to me? What really happened to me? It just changed my entire life because I was young. I had a tire store back in Indiana. I had applied. Yeah. I got out of the computer program because I just got bored of sitting in that office. There's got to be more to life than sitting in this 10 stories up in this big office building in this little office. I can't even see daylight. I don't like it. Yeah. So a friend of mine wanted me to go in the tire business. He had seen how I did with pots and pans, and how much I could sell them because I went crazy like Zig Ziglar. I went crazy selling pots and pans. And so he saw how I did that. He said, "Man, you'd be a great partner for the tire business." And he was a Dunlop representative. And I said, "Okay, well, I have to go back to something I read in one of Napoleon's book. Before you ever go in business, the first thing you do is go to work for the competition." That's number one rule in business. Before you just jump into business, go work for the competition. Learn everything they know because they've already made all the mistakes. So I said, I'll have to do that. So I got a job selling tires. And then we went in the tire business. So, and I took it to the far extremes, I put Napoleon Hill principles, had 50-some guys working for me, and it just created a monster. And nonetheless, I was having time of my life, and I was still young, and in my 20s. And I was going to go fly fishing with this. One of my buddies had a father with a taught fly fishing class, and I hit it off with his dad real well. And so we were going to go to Colorado and go fly fishing. And so I don't know what it was, about a week before then, my buddy called me up and said, "Hey, you're going to have to cancel the fly fishing trip." I said, "Why?" He said, "Well, Dad's in the hospital." I said, "What's wrong with him?" He said, "Well, he was down at the creek fishing and he had a heart attack." I said, "Oh no!" And he said, and he was down there so long before they could get him, before he could get back up to where he needed to get to the hospital or something. He'd lost oxygen, and so it kind of messed up his brain. I said, "Oh my Lord!" I said, "Well, I want to go see him." He said, "Okay, well, you can, but be prepared. He's not in the same shape he was." I said, "Okay, that's all right. I got to go see him." His name was Bo. So I go to the hospital to see this guy, Bo. He's sitting in a wheelchair. He was out of bed, but he's sitting in a wheelchair in the hospital clothes. And I said, "Bo." He looked at me and said, one, 2, 3. I said, "Hey, Bo, it's Randey." He said, "Hey, 1, 2, 3. I said, "Oh my God!" So I just really that right there. I said, "What in the world caused that?" I don't want that to ever happen to me ever. So that was a day that I said, I got to figure out what caused that. And so I'm talking to him and his doctors and so on. He said, "Well, he had a heart attack." "Well, what caused a heart attack?" "Well, a heart attack's where your arteries clog up." "Well, what clogs up your arteries?" So I started peeling back all this stuff, and I ended up spending a lot of time, not a lot of time, but a lot of talk and research with this guy in Arizona who had the Arizona Heart Institute. He had been all over the world doing heart training. He was just the foremost guy on hearts at the time back then. One of the foremost guys, I should say. And so in reading all his stuff, I said, well, cholesterol comes from animals, okay? I mean, and we make our own cholesterol, of course, because we're an animal too. Sure. We make our own cholesterol. It's a Band-Aid, and it's a good thing for us. But when I read that cholesterol only comes from animals, I said, well, it seems to me like if you quit eating animals, your arteries wouldn't clog up. Now there's been some other thinking on it today when it comes to calcium, and they calcified and all that kind of business. But nonetheless, back then that was a 100% clear thinking, and I thought, okay, so I'm gonna quit eating it. So I did. I said, I'm gonna quit for 6 months. I'm just gonna quit for 6 months, see how it is. So I quit for 6 months, and I got through that fine, using Napoleon's goal. I set a goal and I accomplished it using his principle. So I got to that point, and then I thought, okay, well, I'm going to go down to this famous steakhouse there in Annapolis. Been there since 1902, favorite place. I'm going to have a filet just for the fun of it. So I went down there and I ordered it. I started chewing it, and I spit the bite out, and then I thought, okay, well, have another bite. And I started chewing it, and it just, I don't know, something happened to me, and I just lost my taste for it. I felt like I was chewing on my arm or something, even though it was so tender. Wow. And it tasted good, but I just didn't like chewing on it. The chewing part was getting me. I'd been eating a lot of salads and vegetables and grains and, stuff that didn't take a lot of chewing. And I wasn't used to that. So that was it. And the people with me said, "What's wrong?" I said, "Well, I just can't eat it." And they said, "Well, why don't you order fish?" The guy over there's got fish. That looks pretty good. So I ordered a fish and I ate it, and I was fine with that. And then I went through a period where I was completely vegan, where I wouldn't do any kind of fish. I wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't even eat honey because it comes from a bee, I was just really strict. I got on that for a long time, and then I got off of that and kind of so. But I've been a vegetarian ever since back then, 35 years ago, I guess it was. I've been a vegetarian since then. So that's where my health journey started. Yeah. And that's when I realized.
How old are you, Randey?
Go ahead.
71. How old are you? 71. So everybody out there listening, this is a 71-year-old guy that a couple years ago ran 26 miles every week for 26 weeks. And listen to this guy. He's telling you what is working for him. And, man, that's an incredible, powerful story right there, Randey. and I appreciate that. Hey, we're near the end of our thing. I just want to ask you one more thing. I'm gonna put a crown on your head, Randey. I'm gonna give you a magic wand. You're now the king of the world, and you got a magic wand, and you could do one thing that could help men become more healthy. What would that one thing be?
Help men become more healthy. Whew. Wow. God, I would have. Yeah, I just have to go back to the love thing. I'd have to just saturate their brain with love, because that's where it starts. It starts with love, because you got to love yourself in order to be healthy. If you don't love yourself, then what's the point here? Or, I don't know how you're ever going to actually reach any kind of plane of health if you don't love yourself to start with. So I guess if you wanted a very simple answer without even thinking, I'd say I'd saturate their brain with love.
That's powerful. That's great, Randey. Hey, just in closing, I want people to find out where they can get this book that you have written, and any information that you can share about this new book that you're working on right now. How can people get a hold of that book? It seems like a really powerful book for someone who are getting into the arts and let's see, what was it? Yeah. So how do people find that book? How do you do that?
Yeah. Okay. Well, I appreciate that question for sure. Because I do want to spread the word, and it's not. It's not about the money. It's more about helping kids. And if I can see before I go be with the Lord 30 years from now, before that happens. And by the way, I have another goal, is to run a marathon at age 100, and I will not be the first person to do it. There's another guy named Faja Singh, who's an Indian from India, and he ran the Toronto Marathon at age 100. And by the way, Faja has been he's never even eaten an animal ever. But he says he doesn't do it. He only did it because it's his religious belief. He doesn't believe in eating animals. Yeah. He's never eaten an animal in his entire life. I don't know that. I'm not even sure he's still alive. He'd probably be 110 today. Yeah. But I know he ran one after that too. So anyway, that's beside the point. Really? So what was I saying? 30. Yeah, that's my long time goal. Okay. 29 more years from now. Yeah. So then, if he can do it, I know I can do it. Yeah. I just got to wait 30 more years to do it. That's all.
There we go. So where do people find this book?
Okay. So they find it at, number one, you can go to Amazon, Think and Grow Through Art and Music, or you can go to my website, Think Art and Music. That's all, just Think Art and Music, all spelled out. You can go to the Napoleon Hill Foundation website, which will lead you back to Amazon. It's on pre-sale. They're shipping it on September 30th. If anyone goes to my website and orders it, I also include a book plate and autographed signature. Not that my signature means so much, but some people like that. They like to have a book with their name on it. Okay, it doesn't matter if my name's on it, but it's inscribed to them, so it would be a personal note to them. And
that's cool.
I hope. Yeah.
So your website is thinkartandmusic.com.
Yep, thinkartandmusic.com.
That's awesome.
Think Art and
Hey, Randey, we need to wrap this up, but any last closing thoughts or comments about health? You are like a treasure trove of information about good health, good decisions. Starting off with Napoleon Hill, his writings and teachings have had a enormous. I mean, it altered my whole life. So I'm right there with you on that. And any last thoughts or comments on health and what's going on in your life?
Yeah, I want to say one thing about when you mentioned Napoleon. Another person who had a big influence on my life was Zig Ziglar, and I went down to Zig's house and had dinner with him. I went to church with him, and
Wow.
The day I left, I had to catch a plane, and he was down in the front row of the church, and I went down there and shook hands with him, and I said, Zig, I got to go, but I tell you, I love you. And he looked at me and said, Randey, I love you too. I've only really scratched the surface here on the health thing, because there's a lot of things I've done after when I started the vegetarian thing. It was a whole another realm of stuff out there that I think your listeners could really get advantage from hearing, but it's going to take another 15, 20 minutes, so we'll catch that another time.
You've been listening to The 4 Pillars of Men's Health with Dave Skattum. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit the4pillarsofmenshealth.com.